There are a lot of different versions of the Bible in English, but which one is the best one to read? Let's talk about it today on 3-Minute Theology. So first, why do we have so many English versions? The English language has changed rapidly over the years, making updates to English versions necessary to simply keep the Bible readable by the general public. For instance, if you were to pick up an original 1611 King James Version of the Bible, it would be almost unreadable to a modern audience. Our language has changed dramatically since then, requiring updates. In addition, we are constantly learning more about the first century Greek language and how it was used, so updates can be valuable. And so we have a lot of different translations to choose from. What are those different versions? Well, there are three main types. Word-for-word translations, also known as formal equivalents, attempt to take the Hebrew or Greek words and directly provide an English word that is similar. Unfortunately, while this approach can give us a more exact translation, though still not perfect, the sentence structure can be confusing because languages don't all function the same, especially not Hebrew and ancient Greek. So these versions can be a little harder to understand. The King James Version, the New American Standard Bible, and the English Standard Version are good examples. On the other hand, thought-for-thought translations, also called dynamic equivalents, try to capture the overall idea that the original language is presenting while updating the wording and grammatical structure to modern equivalents. The New Living Translation and the New International Version are examples. The trade-off here is that the groups of people doing the translating can interject more of their opinions into the text to varying degrees. So there's a balance to maintain when deciding what to read. It's important to note that all translations fall on a spectrum between those two types, with some leaning to the extremes of those two categories and most falling somewhere in between with some overlap. The last type worth mentioning is a paraphrase, which I wouldn't really consider a translation because these take the most liberty in how they phrase things to connect the idea with the current language. Now, that's not to discount the incredible amount of work that goes into these paraphrases. I think they can be helpful resources to accompany either a formal or dynamic equivalence translation. The Message by Eugene Peterson or Kenneth Taylor's original Living Bible are great examples. Okay, so what should we read? Well, for regular daily reading, I recommend reading a thought-for-thought translation like the New Living Translation. For a more in-depth study, in addition to your thought-for-thought translation, I'd recommend incorporating word-for-word translations like the New King James Version or the English Standard Version, as well as consulting the original Hebrew and Greek languages the text was written in. I know that can sound intimidating, but there are great resources like BibleHub.com that provide valuable information in making these languages accessible to anyone. Translating any language requires a great deal of work and interpretation, so having a resource that can expose you to the original language is invaluable. So, when you're picking a translation, do your homework on the background of the translation. Make sure to be aware of what potential biases the translators had, and ask the Holy Spirit to help you make the best choice for you. Well, that's all for this 3-Minute Theology. Until next time.